for the nest. And if you note really that Wayne here has got a far more upright manner than my kind of horizontal manner here. Wayne is clearly less lethargic, clearly more engaged in his style of arsing, which basically explains why he finds a hell of a lot more nests than I do. But amongst the things that we did learn, one of the top tips that we did learn during that weekend was the art of finding philosks nests, using their off-nest calls, the little kind of hooey kind of calls that they make, and then watching them back. And this was really, really fascinating. Brilliant tips that you can pick up, and then you can share with others when you get back home. And using that technique enabled us to find, so this is a willow warbler nest. You can imagine how difficult that would be if you weren't able to follow the bird back. And then this one here, if you can just about spot it, just there, see it there? Squiggling the line there, is a chiff-chaff nest. And I'm delighted to say that Wayne and I, after coming back from Thetford, within weeks we were starting to find chiff-chaff and willow nests. And congratulations to Wayne, he got the Welsh Triple Crown because in his first year as well he also found a wood warbler nest, which I still haven't done. So you can see we're a partnership, but there is a healthy amount of competition between us. So after that fantastic weekend course, we came home. And the next thing we did was kind of establish this partnership. And we played around with some names, Morris and Jones Nesters Inc. I thought that was a little bit too frivolous, so we settled on Mojo, Morris and Jones. But to be serious for a minute, really, there is a real value of working together in a partnership when you're doing nest recording. If you can go as alone, and lots of nest recorders do go it alone, but clearly, if you're doing it together, more pairs of eyes, etc., makes it easier to find the nests. It helps you share experiences, because when you go out nest recording, you learn something new every time. So it's great to be able to share experiences with each other. And there are days when you walk around and you spend hours and hours and hours looking for nests and you don't find any. And it's great to have a partner then that can help you through a slow day. Very soon, Wayne and I started to find the commoner, easier to find nests, species like the song thrush you've got here. Beautiful, beautiful eggs. And then, of course, everybody finds blackbird nests. And we also started a small nest box scheme as well, where we erected dozens of nest boxes, 3 or 4 different locations around Cardiff and around the valley where Wayne lives. And a top tip, if you can find a willing teenager to come with you to help you, this is Gethin, my son. Not only can they do loads of hard work for you, like hammering in the nest boxes, a little bit like the Victorians used to send boys up chimneys, where you find kind of wood pigeon nests and you think, oh no, bloody going up there. If you've got a willing teenager, you can send him up, and there's Griffin there looking for checking out a wood pigeon's nest. Very soon, yes, you make progress on from those quite relatively easy to find blackbird and songfish nests, and soon we were starting to find the nests of more challenging species. I never was a big twitcher. Like most birders, I'd go occasionally on a bit of a twitch, and I had the thrill of a lifer. But no rarity, genuinely, honestly, has given me as much of a thrill as finding my first ever blackcap nest. I'm sick with the hairs on the back of my neck still standing up from the experience. The closest I can come to describe it is, do you remember that moment when Wales beat England at Twickenham in the World Cup? And we sent them home from their own World Cup. That's nearly as good as finding your first blackcap nest. Wayne found a reed bunting's nest. Look at those eggs. A Thantris Common, which is one of our study areas. But then we quickly learned another lesson, really, in the art of nesting, which is to make a real careful note of where the nest is located. Because 1 week you can find a reed bunting's nest in there. Next week you come back and it looks like that. Really, kind of the growth of vegetation is absolutely incredible. And you think, I know there's a reed bunting nest in there somewhere. But we never really found that nest, did we? We never really found that nest. Anyway, every time we went out, as I said, we learned something new. And one of the things we learned is we went up to some upland sites with some gorse, and you can try and sit and watch linnets back to the nest, but a more efficient way of finding linnet's nest is cold searching, basically finding suitable habitat and then go tapping with your stick and flushing the bird. So here's a typical nest of linnet in gorse. Beautiful nest. Whereas stone chats, we heard a lot about stone chats this morning. Stone chats nests, on the other hand, are easy to find if you're willing to spend that bit of time doing a bit of arsing, following the birds back to the nest, and then hot searching for it. Very soon, we had this thing about meadowpipits. We really wanted to find some meadowpipit nests at the upland sites we were working, and they turned out to be a real nemesis for us. We watched, and we asked, and we asked, and we watched, and we watched, and we asked, and they just led us a real merry dance all over the place. And when we did finally find one, it was by accident. We just happened to be walking past it, and we flushed it, which is often the case. Could you spot the meadowpipit nest in there? That's it, just there in the corner. And then if you look at it again, in close-up, that's what it looks like. Close-up, that's the reward that you get when you find it. Again, spending quite a lot of time in the uplands, I started finding skylark nests. Again, a real thrill to find these kind of special birds. And then when you follow the nest through to the chick stage, you know, just look how beautifully camouflaged those chicks are. Hopefully you can all kind of just about make them out there. Of course, some species are a little bit easier to find than others. But what really kind of surprised us was how few mute swan nests records are submitted here in Wales, but we'll come back to that a little bit later. And through it all, you will work out that there's some nests that you just can't find. I couldn't bring it in myself to send Gethin up to look at that nest. But more importantly, we learned really not to push it. You know, it's not just about getting that nest, it's all about getting the data, but doing it safe and securely, that you don't impact upon the nest outcome, and you don't fall and break your neck at the same time. The NRS code of conduct really does come first.
So having got started nest recording, we were quite keen to find out who else and what level of activity was being undertaken in our own county of Glamorgan. And we contacted BTO HQ, and they sent us some data back, and this is what we got. This is what we got. So we thought, oh, that's good. We look at that marked increase in the number of nest records being submitted in our county. Terrific, we're over 800. Then we also asked them for some data from Wales. So again, there's an upward trend. So back in 2006, just over 3,000. 2015, nearly 5,000. So again, a great upward trend in nest recording across Wales. And this is a breakdown of numbers of nest records from each of the old Wales counties for 2015, with the top 3 species being recorded. So lots of lots of pike flycatchers in Powys, Manx shearwaters in Gwynedd. You can see lots of blue tits, grey tits in all counties too. But a total of nearly 5,000 from last year. So it all looks rather healthy, doesn't it? Upward trend in records. So then we tried to find out how many people were recording nests. And then we realised, actually, it might not be as healthy as we think. In each county, there's a fairly low number of recorders, each of which is putting in quite a lot of records. So this is a bit concerned, really. We think maybe this isn't sustainable. We've heard this morning about the importance of long-term monitoring. And it's important that we are recruiting new members to NRS each year, so those long-term monitoring continues. So this is a selection of NRS submissions for priority species across Glamorgan. And just to pick out a few highlights, Dunnock, very common species, no records in 2012, no records in 2014. Chaffinch, very common bird, no records in 2012, and just 5 in 2014. So even very common birds, priority species as far as BTO is concerned, we are having very low levels of nest records in our county. And I'm sure that will be the case in all the counties across Wales. Lots of blue tits, grey tits, pike flycatchers, low numbers of dunnocks, chaffinches, and so on. So these are some what we might call easy to find nests. And New Swan, of course, very easy to find. And these are the annual, average annual submissions. So New Swan, 145 submissions across the UK, just 5 records of New Swan to the NRS last year. Dunnock and song thrush, very, very common birds, birds you might have in your garden or park. You'll see them taking nest lining or food back and forth. And again, we're just having very low coverage of these birds. These are perhaps more difficult nests that are more difficult to find. But again, fairly common birds, widespread across Wales. Just 8 skylark nests in Wales. You think of all the uplands that we have in Wales. We should really get getting more skylark nests contributing to the scheme. So again, we've seen the numbers of blue tips, grey tips and pipefly catchers that are being monitored, and that's great. And the blue line shows an upward trajectory of records coming from boxes, that's great. But in contrast, open cup nesters, warblers, finches and so on, that's actually going down. So we are concerned that we think we need to address that issue. So, in short, we need more records of warblers, chats, finches and buntings right across Wales.
Really, the reason we're here today, as you say, we're...
Can you hear me? So as I say, Wayne and I want to make it absolutely clear that we've only been at this for 4 years and there's considerably more experience in this room than we've got between our ears and on our shoulders. But our how can I say, plea, if you like, to the delegates of the WOS conference this year is just to consider what you've just seen and to think whether you can go back to your home counties. You saw the figures there for your home counties, and think, what can I do to kind of try and increase those numbers. Like I said, it could be blue tits and grey tits. Yes, BTO receive thousands of these every year, but they're very, very keen to still receive more box records from grey tits and nest tits, because that helps them, for example, able to kind of monitor changes in terms of climate change, in terms of north, south, east, west axes and stuff for that as well. Or were there, do you spend a lot of time in the uplands? Could you find some more skylark nests, etc.? And there's basically plenty of resources to help you. Sorry about all the crackling noises. But I won't breathe. How about that? One of the really, really handy things is this book here, A Field Guide to Monitoring Nests. So if you're looking for a Christmas present, this is a Christmas present you should be buying for yourself. This has got all the tips about how to find the nests of each species, how many eggs they lay, where they lay, hatching dates, how long kind of hatching periods last, fledging, etc. And it really is an invaluable book. If you go to the NRS webpage, the Nest Record Scheme webpage, on the BTO as well, you'll see lots of resources there that you can use. And another thing you can exploit, I think hopefully that the BTO will do a bit more work in terms of promoting in the future years, is the Nest Record Scheme mentors. And as you can see in Wales, we've got quite a bit of a spread across these. What do mentors do? They're NRSs, they're nest recorders that are willing to, again, forgive the pun, take you under the wing, to be able to give you that little bit of a leg up that you may need. They may be able to find time to be able to go out with you in the field and give you some of those tips that can get you started. So how to get hold of these guys and gals? Go to the BTO NRS webpage, go to the mentoring page, and then you'll be able to make contact with the mentors through there. And so that's it. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you very much for listening. Go home.